Welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina show. Very fun guests that I have coming up. They are restarting and getting really busy at the Millersport Community Theater, and so I've got a couple of folks to talk about their upcoming production that is going to be around Easter. And it is Easter relatable, and I'm not going to give it away because I want you to continue to watch the show. And then I have a really cool guy. He is a pastor. He does broadcasting, and he also, who I've had him on the show a couple of times, he has written some books, and we're going to talk about some books that Steve Rauch has available. They're children's books and they're rhyming books, so a lot of fun, folks. Just don't go anywhere. We're just going to have some good positive things to share with you on this week's Down Home with Tina show.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area where the fountain is and the memorials and the flags and all this stuff. And I looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. The employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. Very excited with a couple of guests that I have on the show. It's the first time that I get to interview them on television because they have done local theater here at OUL in Lancaster Theater. It's been a few years, I know that, but they are involved in another theater organization in Millersport. So it's Millersport Community Theater. I want to go ahead and welcome Johanna, Whetstone, LeuVoy, and also Brenton LeuVoy, who Johanna happens to be the director of the upcoming production, and Brenton is the lead star in this upcoming play. So I'm really excited. Welcome, you guys. I'm glad to have you. So, it was years ago that, I know we talked a little bit before we got started, that I had interviewed your mother on radio because she was involved. So I knew your last name, and that's where I was like, oh, I know that there's. So will you share with folks a little bit about your upbringing and your experience in theater, Johanna?
Yeah, so I started in Millersport Community Theater when I was about 5 years old in a production of Oklahoma. We watched it the other day and I didn't realize just how little I was actually in that production, but I started there, and I'm pretty sure it was because my parents didn't want a babysitter because the whole family was involved, all 5 of us, and that was pretty common throughout my childhood that we would all 5 be involved in a production. And it's been since 2005 when we did Beauty and the Beast that we've all 5 been in a show, and we are actually all 5 involved in this one. So It's been a while, been almost 20 years since we were all involved, but that was Beauty and the Beast, and now we're all either in the pit or on stage for this show. So
what has it been like growing up around theater? Because I mean, I'm somebody who I was always afraid to I would forget my lines, so being in front of a group of people, not that I'm not social, I don't mean it that way, because I am, but just to stand up in front of people and to memorize your lines, did it come natural for you because your family was always just there on stage?
We were always very theatrical. I was always very animated since I was a kid, but my parents did high school theater, and they just loved to do it, and they loved music, and the love of music was passed on to my siblings and myself. My siblings are both music majors. My sister's a jazz pianist, and my brother is a music teacher in Zanesville, and then my degree is in musical theater. So it was just kind of a natural inclination to go that route. I'm sure my dad was hoping for some science majors, but he didn't get it.
Aw. Well, hey, I'm sure he's very proud for all of the accomplishments. You don't know, right? Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, Brenton. So share with folks, if you would, your experience in theater. Does it go back quite as far as Johanna's does?
Not quite as far as like being like officially involved in theater. I started getting involved in high school, my freshman year at Lancaster High School. That was when I started actually being involved in productions. But the hints were there. Like, you can ask my mom. Like, I would be able to like just quote like movie lines verbatim and like just know so many different just things about that. And so she could see it coming.
Yeah, she knew that you were gonna do theater, and you're of course very much involved nowadays because you guys are married. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it kind of just jives and works. You had mentioned, Johanna, your parents, did they meet when they were doing theater years ago?
They met in high school theater. They were doing a production of Man of La Mancha. They were 17 years old. They met doing that show, and they were playing opposite of each other, and they got married. And then my husband and I met playing opposite each other, and we got married. So
that's why I was just realizing that. I was like, wait a minute, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because so it's just generation. So maybe one day your kid, who knows? Who knows what happens?
Probably.
So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming, production in just a second, because the history of Millersport Community Theater. Can you share that with folks? Because I remember when I was interviewing several years ago, it was the minstrel that was going on, and then I know it changed, you had mentioned, reminded me, to variety shows, and now you're going back to the musical part of it, or you have, and so I want to hear a little bit of that history, because I think that's neat.
Yeah, so Millersport Community Theater started in 1976, and they would always do a spring show, usually a minstrel production, and a summer musical. That was their standard schedule season, I guess. And so they didn't do a lot of musicals like we're doing in a row like this, but they would always do at least 2 shows. And then we got to about 2005, and that kind of fell off. The summer musical stopped happening. We had a couple sporadic ones here and there, but from 2005 to about 2014, so almost 10 years, they had no summer musical. And that one was when I was in high school, and then another 7 years before we came back in. So those spring musicals that turned into variety shows, or spring minstrels rather, that turned into variety shows were all that they did for a while. So when we came back in, having had theater degrees, there was kind of a want in the area to return back to those musicals. So we decided to put on a summer production of Wedding Singer the Musical. And it went so well, we decided to jump both feet in with another production in the following fall. And then we realized that people really liked just the musicals, the stories, as opposed to the variety shows. So we started doing a season. So this is our very first full season. We have a spring musical, which is the one we're doing now, a summer musical, a fall musical, and then we'll do a Christmas cabaret at the end of the year.
Oh my goodness. So do you know what production you are going to be working on in the future? And we don't have to announce which ones those are yet.
They're already announced, so we're good.
They're already announced. Perfect, okay.
So first one's Jesus Christ Superstar, which we're here for today. And then Shrek the Musical is in the summer. And then we have Clue, the stage play, in the fall. So that's based off of the 1980s Madeline Kahn, Tim Curry movie. So that's a really, really funny one. And then we'll have the Christmas cabaret.
Awesome. So let's talk about Jesus Christ Superstar that's coming up. So how do you decide on what it is that you guys are going to have on stage and what musical you might be doing next? Is that a tough one?
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so it really is just like a lot of conversation of like, you have to consider like who you kind of know that you have that's going to be involved based on like what's been going on in, like in the previous shows. Like we know for a little bit of people who are going to come back, and so that's a factor into it. We also it's a board decision for like the Millersport Community Theater board. We have discussions and we talk about like what are some of the shows, like what are the stories we want to tell, what are the audiences we want to capture, what are the the playing groups, like the people involved that we want. And so we try to, especially with the season, we're kind of a little bit all over the place with the season because we're trying to kind of encompass a lot of different audiences, and we want to bring something that's for everybody. And even if every show isn't for everybody, we at least have something for anyone.
Oh, nice. That's very, very well put. I like how you put that. So do you offer and have auditions for your upcoming productions, or do you, I know you said that because you got to have, if you're having that many in a year, you do have to have those folks that you kind of always know that's going to be involved, because it's not easy to do it. So has it been like in your life? So far, on your first?
So far.
Yeah.
We do have open auditions for anybody who wants to come in. For this particular show, we had a kind of a special circumstance where we were able to do open auditions for an acting ensemble, and then for those people that wanted to be involved but maybe weren't comfortable auditioning, or maybe weren't comfortable being center stage but wanted to be involved, we had a singing ensemble as well. So they're kind of like a pit choir that gets to sing all the music, gets to be on book, doesn't have to do any memorization. They just get to be a part of it. So they come in once a week. Everybody else comes in 3 to 4 times a week. And so the audition groups, they were full open auditions. We knew a little bit of who was coming in, but I mean, we had open auditions and it was a tough one. I mean, it really was. We had a lot of really, really good talent. So, and we're getting more and more each time we do the auditions. So we'll have open auditions for the next 2 as well.
So it's not just the folks that live in Millersport. It's around anybody that wants to come in and act for it.
We span a pretty wide area. It's a pretty wide area. It's like we've got people from Zanesville area. We've got people from Columbus. We had one driving from Athens. We've got them all over the place. So, I mean, just people who have heard of us or who have worked with us in the past, or people who previously were involved with MCT when it was kind of in its heyday, are all coming back to be a part of this production.
Oh, because they're so excited, because it's actually like revitalizing this whole program is what you're doing in a more musical format. So when you guys are having it, where does it take place? Where is the location?
Yeah, Millersport Elementary Auditorium.
Oh, it is.
So just like the same area that it's always been in, same theater as always, just different equipment.
Okay.
So.
And tickets, how do folks get tickets for it? Do they get it online? Can they pay at the door?
They can pay at the door. I wouldn't recommend it with this show because we're selling pretty quickly, actually. So online is the best place to go. So it's www.mctohio.com. Okay. And there's a big ticket button on there that they can buy tickets online.
What is your favorite thing so far? And I'll ask both of you that so far with working with the Millersport Community Theater. Go ahead, Brenton.
A big thing is just like a lot of the opportunities that we've been able to have, just because I mean, we kind of, like Joe said earlier, we just like jumped in kind of head first with these things, and the past 2 productions that I directed were the first shows I ever directed. So like coming from a theater background and having a theater degree, it was just experiences that I hadn't had yet. And so we had a conversation between the 2 of us. It was like, all right, like, do we think that we're ready to do something like this? Can we do it? And so we presented that to the board and talked about it, and they like just really just gave us a chance to, kind of see what we could do and see what we were capable of. And I think that we've been kind of surprised by ourselves about what we've been able to do with this and the momentum that we've gained so far.
Very nice. And I mentioned at the beginning of the segment that you are the lead, so you're Jesus Christ in the show. And what's that been like so far for you to get in that role?
It's the most challenging experience I've had as an actor, and it's obviously, when you're telling the greatest story ever told, it's really difficult, and it's finding that balance between, because everybody has their own version of like what they see Jesus as, and so trying to find somewhere in between the balance of this idealistic Christ and the person who is rooted in history, who was a human being, and so trying to figure that out, and not only that, just like such a big character, but such a massive pool of people who have played this character in the past. You've got Ted Neely, Drew Sarich, Ben Forster, and even John Legend in the most recent live version, and it's just not necessarily trying to fill those shoes, but seeing how all of those guys brought their own element to it and their own humanity into the character of Jesus, and trying to not fill those roles, but fill my own. It's a journey.
I bet, yeah. Well, best of luck to you. And your favorite thing so far? I know we got like a minute.
That's okay. My favorite thing is the community in general. I grew up in this community, very small town, and originally I was like, I gotta get out of here, and of course I came back. But the community is very supportive, and they have been of us, and they've been very welcoming to us coming back, and it's hopefully starting a new generation of people that come back to help build this town and put it more on the map than it's been, because it's really special.
Perfect. And where do you get the tickets one more time?
www.mctohio.com.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Season. We didn't get to talk about things that are going on in the future. We will talk and have them back again, because I could just go on and on when it comes to theater. I think that some of my viewers know that anyways. But it's coming up, Jesus Christ Superstar. Millersport Community Theater at the Millersport Elementary Auditorium, and it is April 8th through 10th. Right, guys? Perfect. Yeah, I got it. Folks, don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just a minute. It's Down Home with Tina.
Life is unpredictable. That's why estate planning is important. Estate planning provides you comfort and peace of mind knowing that you're taking care of your loved ones and ensuring your legacy lives on just as you envisioned. You lived a life that is beautifully and uniquely yours. You deserve an estate planning attorney who understands that and creates a plan as unique as you and in the best interest of your loved ones. You deserve the local, trusted, experienced attorneys at Dagger Law.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
It's Down Home with Tina, and I'm excited to have Steve Rauch with me. He is a fellow who I didn't run into for most of my life ever, and then all of a sudden we get to run into each other doing just different events. So It was really awesome because I enjoy having Steve on as a guest. You were on, it's not been quite a year, I think it was last summer, for a book called Hugology.
Correct.
And I love that because it was about hugs, and I'm a hugger, and even friends who I'm just like, I don't care, I'm coming in for a hug if I've not seen him for a while. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that. And Steve, when I ran into you recently, you had told me about one of these children's books that you have written, and it's been several years, and then one that you have written most recently and had it. Yeah.
Yes, the first one is I Know an Old Fellow Who Swallowed a Cave. This book, they're children's books, so even I can read them and understand them in one full sitting. And there's the old folklore poem, I Know an Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly. I don't know why she swallowed a fly, perhaps she'll die. There's lots of these books written that are similar to that. This one is a Christ-centered book. He swallows a cave, he swallows a robe, he swallows some wood, he swallows a hill. He swallows some thorns, he swallows 3 nails. So that's what's happening here in this book. And we did this as a family project. True story, we were, I think, at McDonald's, and my wife said we ought to write a children's book along the same theme. So she passed out napkins to all 3 of my children and I, and so we wrote down ideas. I collated those ideas, wrote the poetry that goes with it, sent it back to the family. They edited it and then gave it back to me, and that's how the script happened. One of the biggest challenges in writing a children's book is illustrations. So we found a friend of ours named Bethany Albert. She's since married, now Bethany Delarose, and she did a tremendous job on the illustrations. We also adopted a young man from Ethiopia, and so $1 from the sale of each one of these books, when we first distributed them about 10 years ago, went to Life Song for Orphans, which is a ministry that helped us to be able to adopt our son, and it was part of our way of giving back. So this has been a real family project.
Very, very nice. Yeah, just to sit down at McDonald's, you guys just decided to write a book, and here it is. How many years ago was that?
About 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. And then you have this one, this newest one, The Three Little People Pigs. And why did you decide to write this book?
Well, a couple of different reasons. One, I guess apparently have a theme, and that is I steal ideas from other people. You're familiar with the Three Little Pigs story. This one, I was reading in the Word of God about how important it is for us to build good things into our lives. And the Apostle Paul, in the book of Corinthians, said we should build gold, silver, or precious stones. Or we could build wood, hay, or the King James Version uses the word stubble. And then it said our work is going to be tried by fire, and we'll see what comes out as a result. And it reminded me of the Three Little Pigs. And so I wrote this poem, The Three Little People Pigs, and actually I only had 3 children at the time. They were all girls. And we did a little skit where they were the three little people pigs, and I was the big bad wolf representing the devil. So that's where this concept came. My wife got little outfits for them. One was holding hay, one was holding wood, one was holding bricks. And so that's where the concept of this book came from.
Oh, and tell me about the illustration on this one. It is a different illustrator.
The illustrator, by the way, on the early in the book, there's actually a copy of my children wearing that outfit and me as the big bad wolf. That's in there as well. But again, the key to a great children's book is illustrations. And the illustrator is a young lady named Jess Campbell. Jess Campbell is a client with the Fairfield County Developmental Disabilities. She's actually legally blind, and she is very much into horses. So much so that she does drawings and paintings, and she will paint with her horse. She'll put the brush in the horse's mouth. And she told me, here's how I know the horse is done painting. He'll swipe up with the brush on the canvas, and that's how she knows she's done. And the horse is done. The horse did not help with the illustrations in this book, but Jess Campbell did a tremendous job in capturing these concepts that we were trying to communicate. She just did an outstanding job. Very, very proud of her and of her work. And it truly is an honor and privilege to be able to partner with her on this project.
Yeah, she's just did an amazing job. She's very, very talented.
She is.
Yes.
You know, what we say in developmental disabilities, we sometimes focus on the disability. What is happening these days is we're accentuating the ability parts. We make the dis a little small and the ability in all caps, because you can see from looking through this book that this girl has abilities, not disabilities. And they are very well demonstrated in this book, and I so appreciate Jess Campbell making this happen.
I just love it. Do you foresee books in the future and inviting Jess to be the illustrator down the road?
I would love that. I really would. I don't have any in my mind at the moment, or any in the pipeline that I'm aware of. Interesting, she actually drew these pictures 7 or 8 years ago, and we just hadn't pulled the trigger on the book yet. And then my wife said, Steve, I think I can help us get that book collated and put together. My wife, Stacey, did a tremendous job in doing all the collations that needed to be done. Now, if you go to Amazon.com, you can find the Hugology book. You can find a Know an Old Fellow Who Swallowed a Cave book. And you can find the Little People Pigs book. If you search my name, Steve Rauch, the last name Rauch.
And you know what I love about it? A couple of different things, just as I look at it here. When she makes the wolf, he's not so scary that kids would have nightmares.
Correct.
And I love that. I don't know if she just had that in mind and she knew that she didn't want that to be.
Yes.
Or if you guys talked to her and communicated that with her.
I just
but
let her
it's
do
not
her
like
thing.
so super scary, like, because
No.
wolves are a beautiful animal, don't get me wrong.
Correct.
But
in this case, it's the big bad wolf, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to
as
eat
like
the
devil.
pigs.
Yeah,
so
and she
you have to
intermingled the
create,
two.
Something that is, some level of intimidation, but not too scary.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have, at the beginning of it, when you first open it, because you had referenced the Bible already, 1 Corinthians, that you have the biblical inspiration to it. So that way you can continue that conversation with your children after you do go and put this book down and say, hey, this is where this is related. So, just gave me goosebumps. When things happen and it's just like, holy cow.
Yes. Well, the Bible
and
says
awesome. Because you're encouraging people to open their Bible and to talk to their kids about this is where this piece of it comes from.
Yes. The Bible talks about that false prophets will
where to
come
find it.
as wolves in sheep's clothing. And so, this is a wolf who's maybe hungry for bacon, apparently. So we have to build good, positive things into our life. And when we do, we'll be protected against the enemy. And really, that's the concept of the book.
Yep, and it's cute because she does have the wolf with some of the sheep covered up with some of the sheep's wool and stuff. So it's adorable. So how can folks purchase this book? Rather for themselves, just to help with what proceeds or whatever, or
well, one of the things, if you say, wait, look, I don't have the finances for that, you can go to the Fairfield County District Library. There are copies of both books in the Fairfield County District Library, so you can check them out there. Or you go to Amazon.com. You can search for the title, The Three Little People Pigs, or you can search for my name, Steve Rauch, and then those books will pop up, and you can order them there and shipped right to your house there.
And that's why I like to have Steve Rauch on the show, because he is the type of man who, hey, if he can get you to read the book and you go to the Fairfield County District Library and open your Bible, it's not all about the bigger, or some folks think it's about opening that book in the end.
It is.
That's what I got from that anyway.
Yes.
So good for you. Thank you, Steve, so much for being a guest.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime, my friend. Folks, don't go anywhere. I'll be back. It's Down Home with Tina.
Welcome to the high school football game of the week. I'm Jaron Stewart alongside Tim Shoemaker. Tonight we've got a great one for you. The Blue Carroll Bulldogs.
We had a great week of practice. Even in the rain and the weather, we had a great week of practice.
Schneider, lots of running room to midfield. He's gone. Ryan Schneider down the near sideline for a touchdown for the Aces.
We have a hold on the offense, number 20. That penalty will be declined. They'll bring up 4th down.
We're going to give you this game ball here because you're a Tiberios fan of the game. And thanks for being here, Jacob.
Thank you. The Polar Bears are your OAC tournament champions. First time since 2009. What an exciting finish for the Ohio Northern Polar Bears.
And be very proud of this trophy because you've earned it.
It's Down Home with Tina, and Down Home with Tina is brought to you by these amazing sponsors. Folks, you can watch Down Home with Tina a few different ways. At CLN Your Hometown Connection on YouTube, just look up the Down Home with Tina playlist, and then also you can look on Facebook, Down Home with Tina, and Spectrum, channel 1021. So it was 2 years ago on this very date, March 16th, that the shutdown happened. And I would have just recorded prior to that my 34th episode. And it was just kind of crazy, you know, and with it being St. Patrick's Day, and of course I'm dressed like St. Patty's Day, I just want to encourage you all, go out, enjoy, be responsible, because yeah, it is a big holiday where folks go out and they, you know, tend to party and things like that, but enjoy the day. If you don't want to go out and about, there is the traditional foods that you eat on St. Patrick's Day. Just a couple of them is corned beef and then also cabbage. And if you don't know how to make it, I'd suggest that you start practicing. Well, today is probably a little too late, but it's not hard. If I can make corned beef, I'm certain that you can make corned beef as well. So with that being said, folks, I just want to share with you a message, and it is the Gaelic blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. St. Patrick's Day is such a fun day, and you can make the best of it. I just want you to get out there and enjoy it a little bit. Folks, I enjoy, and I'm having a great time doing the Down Home with Tina show. I've also just started something else. I've got my real estate license, and I'm going to share so much more about that down the road, because Down Home to me is about your home as well, and I'll get to have that and spread the news with you here within the next couple of weeks. So I hope you will keep watching. Blessings to you. Have a great week. Until we meet again, good day.